Hi, welcome back. In the last video, we were doing an example of, I forget if it was 3 bars of music or 4 bars of music, but either way, it was in 2/4. So I think we're going to try, again, we're going to keep going with this theme of of working on music that's in different time signatures. And I mainly want to have you understand kind of the concept of what happens with a time signature and what a time signature means. So, we're going to start, I guess, kind of with a type of time signature you haven't seen before yet, and a time signature with a bottom number you haven't seen before yet. So let's do an example in 2/2 time. So this is also known as cut time, and sometimes you'll see cut time written. Let me see if I can get this. There it goes. Sometimes you'll see cut time written like this. You'll have a C and then a line through it. So it's kind of like the typical. What you might see at the beginning of a tune is a C for common time, which is 4/4. So this C is equal to 4/4, but this C with a line through it is what you would use to denote this 2/2 time. So think about what 2/2 time means. So we've got, let me get this back. It's okay, I'm working in this color. Okay, so we've got a 2 on the top. So that means that whatever the beat is, whatever note gets a beat, there are going to be 2 of them in a measure. So we know that we're going to have 2 beats in this measure. And what are those? What type of note is going to get the beat? Well, let's look at the bottom. And we've got a 2 down here. So this is kind of different. In all the other examples we've seen so far, we've had a 4 down here. So in this one, we've got a 2. So what type of note is going to get the beat in this? Well, if you looked at the first couple of videos in the playlist I put up, and if you haven't seen those, you should go back and watch them. Now, this kind of gives you the concept of what the numbers in a time signature mean. But what we're going to do with this bottom number is just put a 1 over that bottom number, and there we have a half. So that means that a half note is going to be what gets the beat. So with that, and I'll just leave this down here as kind of a side note. With that, let's try to write an example out. So this example, let's make it two. Let's try to make it 3 measures long. See if I've got enough space. So this example is going to start out with a half note. And then we're going to have another half note. Then bar line, because we've filled up this bar now. So you might notice, and actually I'll mention this at the end again, but you might notice that this would fit in a measure of 4/4. So you'll have just as many quarter notes in a measure at 2/2. So we could put, and this I will erase in a second, we could put 4 quarter notes into this measure, and that would still be a measure at 2/2. We still have what would amount to 2 half notes. We're still writing that much music per measure. So 2/2 measures can look exactly the same as 4/4. But what's the difference? The difference is that, and I'll switch back to red for this. Maybe it might be good to just do this one measure at a time. The difference is, what would our beat numbers, and actually let me kind of erase this down here for right now, and maybe I'll draw that a bit smaller up at the top in a second. Okay, actually I'll do that right now. So half note equals the beat. Okay, so what's the difference going to be? Well, what the numbers that we've been writing under these notes, what would this be in 4/4? Well, and I'll say, like, as an aside, if this was in 4/4, we'll write this in red. Well, each quarter note would get one of those beats, and we would have 4 of them. So let's write that down. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And that would correspond to, this might not, let me move that half note so I can just move that half note so it's right over this quarter note, because remember, this half note would line up with this quarter note, and we would be playing this half note on beat 1, holding it till beat 2, and then we would play the second half note on beat 3 and holding it into beat 4. And that's what we would do if we were in 4/4 time. But we're in 2/2 time. So what do you think our numbers are going to look like under here? Well, in 4/4 time, we had 4 beats. In 2/2 time, we've got 2 beats that occupy the same amount of space. So we still play beat 1 at the beginning of the measure, but beat 1 takes up a whole half note. So we don't play beat 2 until we start playing this half note right here. So this is where beat 2 comes. And let's add on one more measure to this. So I'm going to switch back. Let's add on 2 measures. So I'll add on a whole note right there, and that'll be a full measure. And then I'll add on, let's actually add in 2 quarter notes, and then a half note. And then we're at the end. Double bar line. So, and actually, let me see. I should have written these in red. Let me see if I can just real quick go over these notes in red. So you can kind of see that this is the 4/4 example. There. So if you look at these other measures are, you can fit just as many quarter notes into them. So a whole note still takes up one whole measure. And then this measure right here, we've still have got 2 quarter notes and a half note, which is perfectly acceptable to write in 4/4 time. So let's write in the 4/4 beat numbers underneath these 2 measures. So for this whole note, we know that we just start playing this and we just hold it for 4 counts. So I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4 under this whole note for 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we were in 4/4 time, we would play this quarter note on beat 1. This one would come on beat 2. And then we have a half note here for beats 3 and 4. So that's what we would do in 4/4 time. But since we're in 2/2 time, we're only going to have 2 beats for each of these measures. So, and even you can just look, if you want, here's a trick if you're going to write in if you want to try to write in beat numbers for 2/2 music underneath the music, you can just write in what it would be for 4/4 and then just put a 1 under a 1 and a 2 under a 3. And it'll work out every time. So here, I'll do that right now. So we play in cut time. We're going to start the whole note on beat 1, and we're going to hold it through beat 2. And that'll fill up the whole measure. And then in this measure, we'll play this quarter note starting on beat 1. Then this quarter note actually happens on, we would call this the upbeat of beat 1. So it's in between beats 1 and 2 in cut time, even though it's on beat 2 in 4/4. And then we would play beat 2 on that half note. So I'm actually out of time right now. In the next video, I'll do a bit more on this and actually play this out for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.